Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK, and our show today is the Business Talk Show, episode 125. Yay! We are going to hear from my dear friend, Mr. al.cini, what he's been up to. I'm going to share a little bit about what's been going on here at USA Global TV and Radio. So stay with us today. We're super excited to have you. Mr. al.cini's been with me since the beginning. As I mentioned, he's a dear friend. He's been a mentor. He has shed so much light and education, hope, and inspiration. He's a self-made man, a self-made entrepreneur, and he's also a television host at another channel, RVN Television. We celebrate his work. Let's bring him out. Mr. al.cini, welcome.
Well, you know what, Dr. Jacalyn, thank you so much for inviting me for this, just the two of us episode number 125, which is amazing to me. I mean, really, when you put that in perspective, that's 125 episodes of just this show. But you've got 25 or 30 other shows that you're producing on a regular basis too. And it's, I don't know where you find the energy, but you get it done. And I'm really impressed with how USA Global TV and Radio has grown the way it has. You've really done a terrific job building a great family. And we're starting our program, I think, today with that conversation, because there's so much about what you do that's so important in the world today. And I've seen you go through a kind of a shift from a personal brand, Dr. Jacalyn, to this larger, more global brand. And I know that one of your passions, Doc, is that you like to reveal, you like to show, you like to share stories that people aren't sharing anywhere else. We need to learn about what's going on in the world, and traditional news media just doesn't bring us there. And so now, I mean, how are you feeling about? You just had your peace show last night. I know that we were talking about that before the program. That's World Peace, with participants in Lebanon talking about what it's like to live there. I mean, absolutely. Where else except on USA Global TV and Radio do you get perspective like that?
You know, Al, thanks for asking that. I shared with you backstage that I was producing the show and also hosting the show yesterday, and I woke up and I really felt like I wasn't good enough to do it, because we have 3 expert correspondents who have major global experience on all the big networks and award-winning journalists. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, what right do I have to be here to interview these 2 guests in addition to the 3 people who were there? So I kind of had a little bit of a meltdown that even though I've done 3,000, however many shows, I just didn't feel like I was good enough. And so they really wanted me to do the show anyway. So I did it, and it turned out to be a great show. And it was a learning experience for me. And I think that's part of what my mission and vision is, that it's not entertainment per se. It's some entertainment. We're not like juggling and telling jokes, right, but it's about education, hope, and inspiration. And it's been a growing process for me as well as for this platform. And something else that I really feel is important is I want people who are here on our team, people who are guests, I want them to collaborate. I want them to actually connect with one another and find ways to grow their brands, to grow their passions.
You know, your generosity is certainly part of one of it's let's say a sub theme. It's definitely part of the brand of USA Global TV and Radio, because it always comes out in every conversation you have with everybody. What is it I can do to help you? Who can I introduce you to who might be able to help you? How could we take your message and make it bigger so that everybody hears it, and the people that hear it then want to pitch in and help you out with that. So spurring people, inspiring people to take action, positive action on behalf of others, it's a big part of what you do. And I heard you mention when you were talking about I heard you say two things, actually a bunch of things. When you were talking about the Global Peace Program that you produced and hosted yesterday, and you were worried that maybe you weren't up to the job of sharing a stage with professional journalists, people who do this for a living, or at least they tell us that they do this for a living. I'm here to tell you that one of the things that I've come to know about you is that you're driven by curiosity and kindness. And when you hear somebody talk about themselves, you naturally become curious about who they are and what their journey's like, and you want to become involved in their lives in a way that makes their lives better. That makes you an excellent host, a terrific interviewer. That curiosity and that kindness, that caring for people, is what makes it work. Now, I'm bringing that up because I know you're also offering a program and training people how to do interviewing, let's say on a podcast or on a streaming video program. I wanted to ask you, maybe you can take a couple of minutes to talk about that training program that you're offering and how you feel that's going.
Thanks, Al. I really appreciate that. And I just want to say something about what you mentioned about curiosity. I am very curious. And before I started this platform, as you know, was Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. Before that, it was a radio show that I was being interviewed. But I've always wanted to know what else is out there. And I think that's part of why I love doing what I do here, because each day I'm going to learn something. I just learned something from you backstage about credits and A-list and B-list people who are in movies. And so what is better than constantly expanding your knowledge and learning about other people and other cultures? So that's a huge reason why I do what I do. I also like to teach courses because I feel like I've got some experience now that I didn't have, and I want to share it with people because I want them to feel comfortable and to be the best that they can be. So I started a course called The Art of Being a Professional Interviewer, and I'll see if I can find the graphic. And basically, I asked people who are experts in this field, including you, and you graciously agreed to film a video. And I put together 6 different testimonials, including yours, so that people can see and hear from people who are extremely experienced and well-respected as interviewers and broadcasters. And when you can see and hear from someone else, you're going to glean that information and you can make it your own, so that when you're doing an interview or you're interviewing, you have these skill sets that you can incorporate into what it is you're doing. And then it starts to become very natural.
Bill, okay, so let's pick it up right there, because I've watched podcasts. Oh, there we go. The Art of Being a Professional Interviewer. And, I'm just looking at that one slide. You obviously put a lot of care into the colors you selected, the images you picked for that. You spent a lot of time making sure that slide says what you want it to say.
Yes.
Really. I mean, and that is the attention to detail that makes a terrific video product. What makes a terrific video product is the attention to detail, the framing, the knowing the impact an image is going to have, and making sure that you kind of curate those images that you have in a library so that you use them effectively and properly. You've come a tremendous way and have become excellent at curating visual images. You really have, Doc.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I think you need to be given a lot of credit for that. Everything from the backdrops that you use, the green screen backdrops, the promo slides that you run, the titles that you put up. You've grown a lot and you've learned a lot, and it really shows. You do a terrific job.
Oh.
And what sets you apart from a podcast, and this is not a podcast, what sets you, and because I've seen plenty of podcasts, is that in most podcasts, it's kind of like, let's all get together. We'll be on Zoom. I'll record it. I'll wear whatever I normally wear. I'll still be in my pajamas half the time. I mean, when I look at what passes for a professional podcast, honestly, Dr. Jacalyn, I'm embarrassed by them. I'm embarrassed for the guests who appear on them, and I'm embarrassed for the hosts. When you take the time to put on a beautiful dress and put on your makeup and wear jewelry, you're preparing yourself to make an impression on people. That if you just show up in your pajamas, I mean, there is a huge difference between, it's not just the questions you ask, it's not just the interviewing, it's everything about the experience from beginning to end. And you've become a real master at it. I'm very impressed.
Thank you, Al. I can start crying. That's so nice. I appreciate it. By the way, we didn't rehearse any of this. This is all just off the cuff. So I really do. It means a lot. But
It just comes out. It just comes out.
I really do put my heart and soul into everything that I do, because to me, it's not just about me. The name Jacalyn KERBECK is not in USA Global TV and Radio. And that's on purpose. It used to be Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, but this isn't just about me anymore. This is about everyone who's on our team. It's about all the guests who come here. It's about the sponsors. And it has to be a brand that people feel like they want to be a part of. So long after I'm sitting on a beach somewhere and this platform is running by itself, the people will still be coming here because of the level of professionalism. I'm not saying I always get it right. I don't. But even when it comes to making a slide, I might sit there at the kitchen table. It might take me an hour because it has to be just right. And it has to draw people in so that they want to be a part of it. So I want to just share that working with you, I have learned so much. And again, this isn't scripted. You will freely just share your experience. You know, many times people want to charge you for their experience. Whatever it is that you want from them, there's a dollar sign associated with it. And you've never asked me for a dollar for anything, for all of the incredible education and experience that you've shared with me. And something that people might not know is I actually met you at RVN Television, and we did a morning coffee show together, and I got to sit next to the greatness over here, over there. And I learned so much about you. You're so good at really getting people to feel at ease. And you get to the core of what is the value that people bring. And you make the interview about that person. And not a lot of interviewers can do that.
You know, I'm gratified that you see that. I mean, everybody's got role models, right? I mean, you know, you people that you try to emulate or people you think do a particularly good job of it. I've always felt that the absolute king of the television interview was Johnny Carson. I've always felt that. I've always felt, and if you go back and you watch, I mean, he was a funny guy in his own right, and he did a couple of funny bits every now and then. He'd do that, but when he was interviewing somebody, it was always about the person he was interviewing. It was never about him. And it didn't make any difference if he was interviewing Bob Hope or Jack Hanna and his animals. It was the same experience. Johnny Carson was thrilled to see you, couldn't wait to talk to you, couldn't wait to hear what you had to say, laughed at everything you said, whatever it was. I mean, he was just, so to me, I mean, the whole point of, if somebody's going to give up their time and offer their expertise as a guest on a program, what you owe them in return for that is a kind of attention and interest and energy that they deserve for giving up their time for that. So, you know, I like to pride myself. I've been told that I'm the kind of person who can talk to anybody. And, you know, I'd like to think that it's exciting to talk to an accountant. I mean, accountants get a kind of a bad rap for being boring, but the truth is we've interviewed accountants and financial planners on this program. And if you dive down into what it is they really love about their work, they all have a great story to tell. They all have a great story to share. And your job really is to bring it out and then step back. Don't try to step on it. Just step back and let it happen. And you, honestly, Dr. Jacalyn, it's a gift you have. I think we use the word generosity when we describe that. And maybe that's a good word for it, because it is you being generous with your attention and your care and your concern. And whenever you talk to anybody, they're the most important person in the world at that moment. And you make that really, really clear. On top of that, you ask great questions, you throw a lot of energy into it, and you laugh, which a lot of people can't do. I mean, I can't. I remember we did one episode. I can't remember the Swami.
Yes, Swami.
And you know, with the orange outfit, and I guess I'd been living my whole life waiting to use this line, but he's a vegetarian, and he was wearing an orange cowboy hat, So, I mean, I guess I'd lived my whole life and was hoping that someday I'd be able to use a line. So, in other words, then, Swami, you are literally all hat and no cattle. Do you remember that?
I do remember. I think he laughed also.
He did. He cracked up. And, you know, you have to have a little bit of faith that people will laugh when you do that. He's a vegetarian because he's a Swami after all, and he doesn't eat meat. But there he is wearing a cowboy hat. And I don't know, it just sort of cracked me up. And that line, I guess, was a point that was waiting to come out. It was burning in my soul. And finally, working with you, I got the opportunity to use it. So
it found a place.
There were so many moments like that, though, where you just sort of take somebody, even in a serious moment, and find a light way to present something so that, I mean, there's, you know, I mean, we've also covered some very, very tragic stories. We've talked to people who've had tremendous difficulties that they've had to face. But honestly, even in those conversations, we were able to find the joy in the life that they were living, despite the pain that they might have experienced. And you want to try to tap into that wherever you can, because that's what everybody's looking for, an opportunity to be happy. And that what they want are examples of people who can be happy, even when there's no reason in the world that you can imagine why they possibly could.
It's
so
so
you
true.
find that little happy moment in them and you pull that out, and that teaches everybody, you know, no matter how bad my life is, I can find happiness in it. I think
so
that's
true, Al. Absolutely. You know, something I really think is important also, because I think you and I share this. I learned when I was collecting information to do the course, The Art of Being a Professional Interviewer, that some people really believe that it's extremely important to prepare for hours, maybe days in advance of interviewing. And I know you and I do not follow that philosophy. I feel like if you have a genuine curiosity and interest in someone, you're paying attention, you're going to get the information. You don't have to go and research, but other people feel that way. So tell us more about why you have the approach that you have.
It's you know, a cold interview is, if first of all, if you can't do a cold interview, then you're not an interviewer. You need to be able to walk up to somebody you've never met, find out one thing about them you can start the conversation with, and then move the conversation forward from that, whatever it is. That's it. So if I ever rehearse, and I never do, I mean, you can't rehearse an interview. I mean, we couldn't rehearse this, Doc. I mean, how many hours would we have to have spent over the course of last week to rehearse these 40 minutes? And those 40 minutes, if we had done that, would have been so stilted and so rehearsed and so practiced and so obviously fake that people wouldn't resonate with them at all. You need to have a sincere, honest conversation with somebody in order for people to. All right, we talked about this because I learned this at NBC. When you're interviewing somebody and you're doing a really good job of it, everybody wants to listen in. Everybody wants to know what it is you're going to uncover next, what it is that's going to be revealed next. People want to listen in. And it's the same psychology that you experience in a restaurant when you find the conversations that you're overhearing at the next table to be more interesting than the one you're having with the people you went to dinner with at your own table. You know, that desire to eavesdrop because it seems like something interesting is going on over there and you want to know more about it. That's the magic of an interview. You want to create that feeling that people have just dropped into the middle of a conversation that's so fascinating, they feel like they want to be a part of it. They want to hear it. And you can't get that by rehearsing. So if I ever prepare anything, it's the first question. Just what is it that makes you different? What is it that you feel you really want everybody to know about you? And then for a half an hour or 40 minutes or an hour, however much time we have, my job is just to ask all the questions that accomplish that goal for this person, whatever they might be. Whether you're an accountant or a police officer or a member of SEAL Team 6 or a girl, I don't care. Everybody's interesting and everybody's different from everybody else. And if you just start with that, what makes you different, the conversation flows from there. And every now and then you crack a joke and it's okay to say something wrong. That's another thing. A lot of people, you can mispronounce somebody's name. You just can't do it over and over again. After they correct you, you need to learn from that and pronounce it correctly after that. But thank people when they correct you. If you get something wrong about somebody's history, like you get the name of the school they went to wrong, they'll correct you and that's okay. And you say, thank you. Don't freak out. It happens all the time. By the way, one other thing, you got 1 minute to get to the guest. 1 minute. 1 minute. So stop with the bullshit. You talk about the guest for 20 minutes, talk about yourself for 20 minutes. Guess whose time you're burning up? You got 1 minute. Get to the interview in 60 seconds. Don't screw around. Really, that's what everybody's tuned in for. You got a minute, 60 seconds. That's it. That's all. So if you're going to prepare for anything, it's make sure you get to the guest as quickly as possible. I don't know whether you cover that in your course, but get to the guest right away. That's why people are here. I don't know. Does that make sense to you?
It makes perfect sense. And you're so spot on when it comes to that, because they're tuning in because their friend, their family member, their relative, the topic has drawn them in, and they don't want to hear a bunch of back and forth.
Certainly don't want to hear about the interviewer. And if you're going to spend 20 minutes introducing somebody, they went to this school and they went to this and they did that and then they did this, and they can tell me that. Ask them questions. Where did you get started? Let them say that. Why are you saying it for them? But the only reason why you're saying it for them is because you've heard other people do it and you think that's what you're supposed to do. But you're wrong. Listen to me when I tell you. You are wrong. Stop with that shit. Get right to the interview. Ask them about themselves. They'll tell you all these things. And they'll do a better job of it than you will. That's it.
Because you're stealing their thunder.
I have a little clock that goes off in my head when I start a program. I mean, sometimes it's a minute and a half. There might be a sponsor you got to acknowledge, there might be something you have to say in order to touch some base business-wise. So maybe a minute and a half tops, but the clock should be running from the moment from the moment you bring people in, the clock should be running, and we should be moving forward with this guest that we can't wait to talk to because we're so excited about this interview that's coming up. And that, to me anyway, that's a lot. And all the energy comes from that. So it's easy. I mean, maybe we make this look easier than a lot of people find it to be, but oh my God, I've for so many podcasts, your course is so needed by so many podcast hosts. I'm telling you, who think they know how to do it, but they really don't. They just don't. And they really need to take your course. So tell me a little bit about that. How do they sign up for it?
Well, thank you, Al. And again, unscripted. I just want to say something about what you said. We all have the ability to learn and to do better, to do things in a different way if we have that curiosity. And I know even for me, two things that stand out were initially when I first started with Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, you and I were doing the show, I would start the show, go, hello and welcome to Rapping. And you're like, what are you doing?
Radio voice.
Right? I was like, isn't that the way I'm supposed to sound, like the radio? And you're like, no, people are going to tune in because of you, not because of some fake voice that you use. So that really stood out to me. And then when I started with the USA Global TV and Radio, I was coming out going, hi, I'm the president and founder. And she's like, who cares? Who cares? We're here to. So it's now, as you know, because you're the voice of USA Global TV and Radio, it's in the intro. So if people want to know who I am, they could just listen to the intro and find out how to contact me.
You didn't. I mean, you can. You've gotten so good at it. I'm really thrilled that you're offering this program to help people become good at it themselves, because so many people are just so bad at it. I mean, honestly, I don't know if you don't have time to watch podcasts because you're so busy doing what you do. But I every now and then I'll tune into somebody's podcast and I'll think to myself, oh my God, why? And it'll be their episode number 380. So they've been doing this for years, potentially, at least months at least. And I'm thinking to myself, why aren't they learning from what they're doing that they could be doing it a better way? And I think that's why they all need to sign up for what you're offering. And you should talk, before we get to my part of it, I want you to talk a little bit about all the other training you offer too, because I don't know how you make a distinction between the power of listening and good interviewing, because they're really two sides of the same coin, aren't they?
They definitely are. And just to wrap it up, I think, you mentioned this about Zoom. Okay, this isn't a Zoom and it's not a podcast. It's a live broadcast. It's scheduled in advance. A podcast could be, hey, Al, you available in 20 minutes? Let's get together and throw it. No, we have the graphics. We've got all the visuals, the videos. So the one thing I just want to share as we close out this section is that I feel sometimes I still feel this way, that people will come here and they think it's an extension of their kitchen or an extension of their bedroom. I see people, it just happened the other day, a plate of food and a big mug of coffee. I don't want to see your coffee and I don't want to see your food. You know you're coming on, whether you are a team member or a guest. We don't need to see what you're eating or drinking. You had all the time in the world. If you're joking, okay.
I know.
But then also, somebody who might come as a guest and they don't have a green screen. This just happened the other day. They're in their bedroom. I don't want to be looking like, what is that they have in their bedroom? Because now I'm distracted and thinking, wow, they're not very clean. I'm not judging, but now I'm distracted from what
I'm not distracted by the things that are hanging in their closet. I mean, you're looking at the stuff that's hanging in their closet behind them.
Yes, exactly.
How hard is that to manage? All you have to do is go find a blank wall in your home somewhere, move your computer there. It's a laptop anyway with a camera built into it. I mean, it's not like you have to set up cameras and build a set or anything.
Right.
We have done, I will say this, we have done more than once. We have said, yes, let's reschedule this because you don't want your customers, your prospects to see you looking like that.
Yes.
Really. And just don't show up anyway, other than how you would want to show up for people you're trying to sell something to, whatever that might be, people you're trying to influence. If you're trying to raise money for a charity, if you're trying to sell a product, if you're trying to sell a service, show up that way, the way you would that way. Don't show up like you just woke up and nobody wants to see that. I mean, every now and then you'll do an interview for somebody who's in their car. And, we've become comfortable with that now, maybe. And that's not the best. I mean, if that's the only way you can do it because you're so busy, or maybe the nature of the work you do is outreach work and you're in your car all the time, in which case that's part of the show.
Yeah.
But if you just look lazy, like I couldn't be bothered to get dressed up for this. I'm wearing a sport coat. I didn't have to. I can tell you where I got this coat. I can tell you where I got this shirt. I know all of this was pulled together 5 minutes before the program. That's it.
I told you I love your shirt. I told you that backstage.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I want to say the last comment, and then we're going to talk about what you're doing, is also if you own a computer, please show up on the computer. People show up on their phone and their picture's like this big.
Oh, yeah.
No. Get yourself on the computer. I know some places in the world people don't have access to a computer. That's a different story.
Especially with programs like the P Show, where you might actually be doing a broadcast from a war zone.
Right, exactly.
Right. You get what you get in situations like that. The story is more important than the circumstances.
Absolutely.
But in general, just pay a little bit of attention. This is your story. Why would you want to just sort of throw that over a wall and hope people like it? I mean, think about it a little bit.
It's out there forever too.
It's permanent. On top of that, it gets posted and you just look like a slob. And, I'm looking at you and you always show up and you honestly, Dr. Jacalyn, something many of your viewers are aware of, but may not know. You have health crises. You're dealing with health issues all the time. I never know that. I always have to ask how you feel because you never look like you're suffering or in pain. And yet often you are. And I have to give you a lot of credit for that. You power through some of the most difficult experiences a human being can encounter. And you do it with a smile and it never shows. You deserve a lot of credit for that.
Well, thank you. Back at you, my friends, because I know that, you have had things that you've gone through as well. And you show up, you're the professional. And I want to turn it over to the work that you're doing. So I mentioned already that you and I met at RVN Television, which is a studio, an actual go-to studio in New Jersey. And you do a number of shows there, but you're also an entrepreneur and you've taken what you created with the Brand and Cultural Alignment Toolkit. And then you've been able to reach even more people with your ProFit workshop offering. So tell us how does ProFit fit with people who are interested in aligning with their brands and their brand ambassadors who are their people?
Whenever anybody asks me that question, I always try to find a different way to answer it. You know how I am. I got this kind of ADHD issue where I hate to say the same things over and over again because I hate to sound practiced. So let me tell you what Profit is to me. And I work with a couple of partners on this. Mark Iorio and Lisa Manioki have each contributed some amazing elements to this. But we each also have our own individual perspectives on this. So I'll share mine. And maybe one of these days on a future program, we'll get the three of us together and we can all talk about how we feel it's going. And so maybe episode 150 will be, we can devote to that. But for today, my background is project management. And I've managed some projects for some pretty big companies, one of which is NBC Universal. And I never did it the way the other project managers did it. I never managed projects the way project managers typically do. Typical project management experience is I use a tool, let's say Microsoft Project. They have software for this. People are what they call resources, lists of inventories of people who can do things for you. They use tools, they spend money, and they take time to get work done. And Microsoft Project tracks all that work minutely, hour by hour, day by day, to make sure that nobody ever misses any deadlines. Well, that's not how I manage a project. That was never how I managed a project. One of the things I learned early on is the Tom Sawyer lesson. You don't have to paint the fence yourself. If you make it look like painting the fence is fun, other people will paint it for you. The challenge to managing a project isn't to track the time and blame the people and use shaming to get people to meet deadlines. The challenge of managing a project is to get people to fall in love with the outcome of the project, what it is we're building or what it is we're trying to accomplish with this project. Once they do that, they'll work on their own, under their own initiative, to get the things done that need to get done in a far better way than any project manager could ever manage them. That's always been my experience. And the reason why they kept me managing projects at NBC Universal was because that was the way I did it. Now, if you're familiar with if you remember, NBC Universal at one point was owned by GE. GE has this methodology called Six Sigma, which is very much into efficiency and metrics and numbers. And it's a wonderful discipline, and I strongly recommend it. And I've been trained in it, and I am a quant. In fact, my graduate degree is in statistical methods for psychological research. My background is actually statistics. So I understand and respect the value and the importance of numbers, and I know where they come into managing a project. I understand measuring things is important. But I also understand that if people don't want to do something, they're not going to do it no matter how you measure them. People have got to want to, and this is a Dale Carnegie quote. Nobody's ever going to do anything until they want to do it. That's just the way it is. So my job as a project manager, and maybe I was more of a project leader than a project manager, was to make sure that people wanted to do it, wanted to get the work done because they fell in love with the outcome and were so excited about contributing to getting that outcome accomplished that they threw themselves body and soul into it. So anyway, motivating people is really kind of key. Profit is a half-day workshop that connects the members of a team, and it could be a department or a retail outfit or a project team. It takes the members of a team, a group of people that have some kind of an outcome in common that they're working toward together. It binds them and gets them to fall in love with the outcome that they're working on collaboratively. And through that love, through that energy that we create with Profit, we inspire people to commit themselves to getting that work done in specific ways that actually accomplish the goals of the team, which means it's not about who's got to have what done by when or what deadline do we have to meet at what time or what tools do we need to use. It's not about that at all. It's about the love of the work that we had, that we share, and the love we have for each other in support of that work. And connecting people in that way is kind of a passion for me. And connecting people to the outcome of the project that they support is a passion for all three of us. Lisa, Mark, and I share that in common. So that's Profit for Teams. Profit for Teams is a half day. Your next Zoom meeting. I know people are out there struggling all the time with what to talk about at their next Zoom meeting. Zoom meetings have become kind of painful. Your next Zoom, and we could deliver this, by the way, a ProFit could be delivered virtually or in person. Your next Zoom meeting could be a ProFit for Teams workshop that instead of having your people just going around the room and complaining about how miserable their lives are and how difficult it is for them to get the work done, we can spend 4 hours reconnecting people with the joy of the work they do and the love that they have for the outcome that they're working on with everybody, and giving them new and fresh insights into each other so that they can build trust and mutual support and find ways to help each other get this work done. And the result of it is stuff gets done faster and you spend less money getting it done. So how is that a bad plan?
It's a great plan, Al. And congratulations on the success that you've had with ProFit. What are some of the testimonials that you're hearing from the clients you've been working with?
Oh, they're good. We've worked with. It's interesting that I'm glad you asked that, because it doesn't matter what the team does for a living. We've worked with police departments. We've worked with charter schools. So a team is a team as far as we're concerned. And the nature of the work really doesn't matter. One of the things we've learned is that when you identify the goal of a team and personify it as a role model, for example, a police department, you'll find that the police department, while it's very much about the gun and the badge, really wants to be more like a charter school. They want to adopt a lot of the skills and a lot of the techniques that are used in schools to educate the people they serve and not just discipline them. So the thing we're learning is that all teams really have a kind of a desire to become better by borrowing from the traits of teams who do something completely different. And we give them that opportunity. That's part of what we do at ProFit. And at the same time, by the way, charter schools, while they're primarily about taking care of people and supporting families and building communities, that's what charter schools do. Charter schools also rely an awful lot on discipline and authority, because the structured experience of attending a charter school is generally what parents appreciate about a charter school. They like the idea that their kids are wearing uniforms. They like the idea that their kids are lining up in rows between classes, and that their kids are being quiet between classes and not being raucous. So that feeling of discipline, actually, that's something that charter schools borrow from police departments. Obviously not guns and badges, but that authority and that discipline and that structure. So a team becomes richer when it realizes that it can borrow the skills and gifts of other teams, even teams that do something completely different, and bring that to the table for the work that you do, so that you can get it done in a more effective and more inclusive and a more compassionate way.
Al, it's really interesting. And I just like to follow that up with somebody out there is watching or listening now or in the replay, and they say, you know what, I think this sounds like a great idea. What does that half day involve? What can they expect to be doing during that time?
We follow 3 steps. In fact, the first step, there's a 4th step that we start with before the workshop, where we ask everybody who's going to participate to think about their whole team as though it were a single person doing its best work on its best day to keep all of its promises and achieve all of its goals. So right off the bat, we ask the question, who are we? Who are we when we're doing our best work on our best day to satisfy the community we serve, to do what we need to do? We send everybody a link to a survey. They take what we call a discovery audit, where for about 5 or 10 minutes, they answer a few questions that essentially profile the person that they have in mind when they're thinking about their team, as though we're a person doing its best work on its best day. Then when we finally pull everybody together for the workshop, the first thing we discuss is, where did everybody land in that discovery audit? How were their responses different from each other? One of the things we've learned is that teams where people see a different person when they're answering that question tend to struggle more than teams that see the same person. So the exercises really are about not just bringing everybody together in terms of who that person is and who we are, but also really thinking very deeply about who we are from an ideal point of view. So the actual end state deliverable of a 4-hour workshop is the personality of who we are when we're doing our best work on our best day, clearly articulated, not just in terms of how they feel or how they make other people feel, but what are they wearing? How do they speak? What do their emails read like? How do they treat each other? And what we end up with is a list of 9 ideals in 9 specific categories. And this was Lisa's contribution from presence intelligence. 9 things that I do every day that respect the role model that I believe represents us when we're doing our best work on our best day, so that I can make a more complete, more full, more successful contribution to the team that I serve. And everybody ends up making an inventory of little adjustments that they feel they can make in their day-to-day to be more like this role model who represents the best of us. We do it without shaming anybody, blaming anybody, making them feel guilty. They make all these changes. They make all these commitments on their own, of their own free will, and they're proud of it. And that pride is what drives the results we get in the workshop.
Al, what I think is also so incredible is that you've had this long-standing relationship with Lisa and with Mark, and the three of you are this cohesive unit that has so much experience and knowledge. So not only are your clients getting the benefit of working with you, they're getting the benefit of this camaraderie, this hub, this hub of expertise.
Glad you pointed that out. And none of us is a pushover. I can tell you that all three of us have strong personalities, and we all have strong ideas about where we want this to go. But what I think I'm proudest of in all of ProFit is that it really reflects all three personalities. I mean, nobody ever in the entire process of creating this workshop ever stiffened up and said it's got to be my way or the highway. Throughout the entire process of crafting this, we've respected each other's contributions and specialty areas. And we've tried to build on them, and all three of us have improved. What we've been doing really essentially is living a ProFit workshop ourselves. And all three of us have come to a different place about the work we do based on the collaboration that we've enjoyed, the three of us have enjoyed. And that ultimately is what we offer with ProFit. It's not about everybody being the same or selling their souls, or we want everybody to be individual and separate and unique, yet all their energy focused on one point, the goal of the team, whatever that might be, so that everybody's contributions are their contributions clearly, and they get credit for it and they get recognized for it. But all those contributions add up to something we can claim at the end of the day is us. We did this, whatever that might be.
And Al, once your clients take the workshop, is there another way of engaging for additional information from ProFit and from you and your team?
We've found that the market actually has taught us that many of the people that we've done ProFit workshops for have wanted follow-on work done with the members of the team to keep them on track, to validate the work that they were doing. So commonly, we're brought back, let's say, once a month for 6 months, and then maybe once a quarter after that, to continue the work of personal alignment planning. What are the 2 or 3 things about myself that I can work on to make myself a better contributor to my team? We'll continue to do that in groups, and people will tell us what's working, what isn't. What was I able to accomplish? What did I have some difficulty with? And they share it not just with us, but with the other members of the team as well. So we're constantly meeting, not just to do the work of the team, but to work on the team in addition to the work that the team does. That's so important. That perspective of who are we, keeping that alive and making sure that we pursue that month after month. I think we've created a great platform for getting that process going. We're gratified because a lot of our clients have asked us to come back and keep it going.
It's so exciting. While I have you up on Spotlight, people want to sign up. They want to take this journey with you. What do they need to do?
They send me an email at al@pro-fit4teams.com. Visit pro-fit, the number 4, teams.com. Visit the website, and you'll learn an awful lot there. We have frequently asked questions and a complete rundown on the program and how it works. There's a place you can go to book a workshop for your team. A couple of questions you can answer about your team that help us get the ball rolling for you. And you can call me, 212-480-3730. It's our New York phone number. That's the ProFit for Teams number. Give me a call. I'll call you back. Let's talk. And we're also going to begin probably in March offering a monthly webinar where we summarize what we do and how a ProFit for Teams workshop works. And we provide guidance on how people might be able to do that for themselves.
People are drooling over that New York number, Al, as I've told you before, that 212 number.
212-480-3730.
Hard to get number. If you were to put that up for sale, whoo.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. Well, it's been so much fun. And again, nothing's scripted, just free flowing. And I feel the result is always more authentic than just having a list of questions. And
I really appreciate you offering me the time today. I'm very grateful for that. And you should be proud of the work you're doing at USA Global TV and Radio, and also the work you do as a coach and a mentor for people who want to learn listening skills and interviewing skills, because I think that's a contribution you make, and it's very unique to you.
thank you, Al. And again, you've been my mentor all this time, so I have to give you credit. I want to leave people with this. When you are on a show, whatever kind of show it is, please don't start yawning. I've seen this too. I've seen like full dental work. I don't want to see it. It's not just get some rest and get yourself together before you put yourself out in the public domain forever.
Generally speaking, I mean, that's why God invented coffee, right? I mean, drink coffee, do something.
Wake up.
That's boy.
Al, for people who want to have an interview with you at RVN Television, do they have to come in person? How does that whole thing work? And what are the shows?
I think we get the best results. It's an in-studio experience, and I think we get the best results when we interview people in person at the studio. But we've had a lot of terrific guests visit us by Zoom from California, from the UK, from the Middle East. And so Zoom interviews work really well, too. And same phone number, 212-480-3730, if you'd like to be a guest on any of the programs on RVN. Go to rvntelevision.com and you'll get a complete list of all the programs that they produce. And if you need an introduction to any of those hosts, feel free to start that conversation with me, and I'll make the intro that you need to get yourself booked as a guest.
Fantastic. And please do that, because Al is such a great interviewer, and sitting next to the legend, the Johnny Carson that we have right here, Mr. al.cini, is an amazing experience.
It's kind of you to say. Thanks, Doc.
It's very true. Well, thank you again, my friend, for being here. And again, if you just want to give your contact information again, that would be perfect.
212-480-3730. Call me on that number and I'll get right back to you. Email me at pro-fit4teams.com. That's my cat's tail. And send me an email and we'll get the conversation started.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here today. It was a lot of fun, and congratulations. Happy 125th episode. Who do we have here?
I have to bring her on because she actually made herself known there.
So pretty. What's her name?
Elizabeth. She's a sweetheart.
Elizabeth?
Mwah.
How old is Elizabeth?
Well, it depends on who you ask. We think she's probably about 12.
She's beautiful. I know she's with you.
She's a doll. She's a sweetheart.
Does she ever come to in your car with you anywhere? Like, ever take
no, this cat. No. No, this cat is very tied to the house and doesn't really want to. Every now and then, when the weather's nice, she'll sneak out a little bit and for a few minutes. But no, this is her range, her territory. This is where she stays.
Well, we'd love to have you on the Pet Psychic Show, because we want to have people with their pets so we can actually get to know their pets.
All right, let's see if we can't book one. I want to know what's going on inside this cat's head. So that's my chance to learn. That's definitely
perfect. I'll send you the link.
Okay, great.
All right. Thank you, Al. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm sure we'll be chatting soon.
Thank you, Dr. KERBECK. You too.
Bye. And to each of you who are out there watching or listening, thank you again. I really do appreciate all the support as we continue to grow. It's all because of you, because you're watching our content, you're sharing with other people. And again, my mission is to bring as many people to the platform across the world who have stories that they want to share, so that we can actually help grow as human beings and understand it's not just about you. It's not just about me. It's not just about our town, our community, our city, our country. There's a whole world out there of people, and why not learn what's going on in other parts of the world, and then reach out to somebody and start a connection, a collaboration. You just never know where it's going to go. So I thank you so much. We are signing off. We're coming right back with our Talking Heads episode with Caroline Heward, and she's the Harley Street stress expert. So please do join us for that. I just want to mention to you, if you are interested in upping your game when it comes to being an interviewer, you can sign up for my course, The Art of Being a Professional Interviewer. I am a certified life, career, and executive coach, and I'm also the listening mentor. So I teach people how to listen at an elevated level, and I teach people how you can stand out as an interviewer. During this 2-hour course, we have 6 people, as I mentioned, al.cini's one, who give testimonials about what they've learned during their tenure as an expert broadcaster, journalist, or interviewer, so that you can take what works for you. You can go over to Eventbrite to sign up. You can also go to our websites, usaglobaltv.com and drjacalyn.com. All right. Thank you again for your interest and your attention. We'll be back shortly. Take care.